Hello, hello, hello. My name is Matthew Coast, and today we're going to talk about why valuable women don't get chased by the right men. And so we have a lot of really awesome, high value, cool, amazing, just super powerful, just awesome women in our community. And there's kind of this big thing going on out there where a lot of women, especially in our community, they feel like they're intimidating to guys, right? They're like, yeah, I've got this awesome job, I've got a car, I've got a house, I've got all these things. And guys are so intimidated by me, and like they even get told that they're intimidating from guys, right? And one of the things that they'll find is that they don't seem to have the right guys that are pursuing them. They don't seem to have the right guys that are approaching them. And they're just trying to figure out like what is going on here. And it can be very, very frustrating. I get it. A lot of women feel like they even want to kind of give up because sometimes it's just not working. It doesn't feel like it's working for them. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about, why these awesome, amazing, valuable women don't get chased by the right men. And so there's one big thing that I want to talk to you about that could completely change everything for you. A lot of the programs, a lot of the things that we talk about sometimes are this thing about about how to be a valuable woman or how to make a guy see you as a valuable woman. But there's another side to that, right? Because if you do all these amazing things to become this valuable woman and guys see you as this valuable woman, a lot of those women still have problems because there's kind of this new range of problems that come up once you start starting to set boundaries, starting to show your value, starting to believe in your own value. A lot of times you end up getting a new set. Hello everybody that's in here. So if you're watching right now, say hi. I really appreciate it when people say hi. And so, it's this one concept that I want to talk about today. And it's this concept called attainability, right? So attainability is a man feeling like he can get somewhere with you. So there's kind of this scale, right? There's like this scale of how much men feel like they can win and with a woman. And one of the things that I hear a lot is sometimes women tell me, they're like, oh yeah, it's like when I just go out in my my pajamas or my workout clothes or something, I'll get hit on more than like if I doll myself all up and go out. And the reason for that is attainability, right? So if a guy sees a woman, he has in his mind, even if it's almost always totally made up, whether he can be successful when he goes and approaches that woman, whether he can be successful in trying to get into a romantic relationship with that woman. And so based on how he feels and what he thinks in his mind determines whether he even tries or not, right? There's the scale of men that are kind of like on this one side right here, right? If this is like a scale of like guys that a guy that will approach and pursue any woman no matter what, and a guy that will never approach and never pursue any woman no matter what, most guys live here in the middle, right? And there's a small amount of men that are like these super players. Some of them are narcissists, and most of them are guys that you don't want to date. But they tend to be really charming, and they will go after just about any woman that they see that's attractive. That's a very, very small percentage of men, right? And then there's there's this middle area of men where they gauge, right? They have a gauge in their mind of how like risk versus reward. Like, how risky is it going to be for me to go over there and talk to this girl? How risky is it going to be for me to, try to show romantic interest in this woman and pursue something that will lead to a romantic relationship with this woman. And then, obviously there's this other side, which we don't even necessarily need to talk about, which is men that won't, no matter what you do, they're not going to approach or pursue a woman no matter what. I don't know what we're going to do about those guys. Probably nothing. But there's this middle ground, right? And the middle ground has a lot of really awesome guys in it. They're just really cool, awesome guys. And a lot of times, they need to feel like they're going to win. They need to feel like when they talk to you that you're going to win, right? I talk to women all the time in our community, and sometimes they'll say things like, I never have guys that pursue me or whatever. And I'll be like, oh yeah, so what's going on in your life? And sometimes I get these women that are like, they're like, yeah, I've got this and this is my schedule and you can take a look at it. And like their schedule is completely filled with things every single day of the week. And I'm like, so where in here do you like meet guys and hang out with guys that want to date you? And they're like, oh, well, if something frees up, and you're like, okay. And they have a problem with attainability, right? Because a guy is going to look at that and he's like, hey, when can we meet up? And she's like, oh, I think I have like 10 minutes here, in 2 weeks on a Thursday, at 4:15, if you can meet me for coffee between then and 4:25, and it's like, how is this guy ever going to pursue you or any guy for that matter, pursue you for a relationship? And so today we're going to talk about attainability. If you're having problems with men who feel intimidated or men who aren't pursuing or approaching you, that's what we're talking about today. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. I don't know what RSA is, but hi from RSA. Okay, so let's see. How many things do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So I have 8 things that we're going to talk about in terms of attainability. If you're a high value woman and you're having problems with guys that aren't the right guys pursuing you and approaching you and wanting to invest in you and spend time with you and moving things forward with you. And so the first thing that you want to do if you feel like this is one of your problems and you want men to start doing these things, the first one is being more receptive. Right. So when a guy does things, for instance, like he starts trying to impress you, I talk to some women who they'll do things like, because there's a lot of like advice out there where a lot of the advice is kind of geared towards women who feel like they have really low self-esteem, like they can't get a guy because they're not good enough and all that kind of stuff. And so the dating industry is filled with these tactics about how to like show less interest, because a lot of these women are just grasping onto men and holding on to them. As soon as a guy shows any interest in them that they feel is like moving them towards the direction they want, they like grab onto the guy and just, like hold on to him for dear life until he ends up going, what's going on here? And it blows up in their face. And so what ends up happening is the dating industry talks a lot about how to like try to mimic things that women who are high value might do, right? So they jump to the other side of the scale where they're like, okay, show less interest, right? We have a thing that we talk about at Commitment Connection where we talk about leaning back, right? And you lean back and you let guys do things for you. And women will end up, taking this to the extreme, especially if you're, kind of a high value woman. If you do it too much, it'll give you attainability problems. And so what you want to do is start being more receptive towards men. When men start doing things like they start talking about themselves, right? Just allow yourself to be impressed by him. Allow him to if he's saying nice things to you or he's talking about his achievements in life or whatever, just, enjoy it, be receptive to it, and be impressed by it, and enjoy the time instead of trying to like show disinterest or some of those other kind of really bad dating tactics that they teach you out there. Yes, I changed my hairstyle. This is true. It's true. Yeah, I have some stories about that, but all right. So the next one that we're on attainability. The next one that we're gonna talk about, number 2, is it's letting him know that you find things that he does attractive. And so there's kind of this thing out there in some dating worlds where they're like, I think maybe you've heard about the book, like Why Men Love Bitches, and kind of these tactics where you show like disinterest, or you say mean things to a guy or whatever. If you're a high value woman and you want him to pursue you, and you want a normal, like well-adjusted, if you want a really low self-esteem guy to pursue you and be attracted to you, then by all means insult him, be a bitch to him. I'm sure that will work for really low value guys. But if you're a high value woman and you meet if you meet a high value guy or a guy that you really like, and you want him to pursue you and chase you and invest in you, just be, find things that you like about what he does and who he is and how he acts, and just let him know that you like him. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in kind of a different twist in number 7. So that's number 2. Number 3 is another tactic that is talked a lot about in the women's dating industry, is this idea of teasing, right? Teasing can be fun. It's kind of close to sarcasm, but it's not, right? Some people like sarcasm, some people don't. I think that depending on who you are, too much sarcasm, I think in relationships can be really destructive to the relationship. But I think, this idea of teasing, right, is like, it's almost like backhanded compliments, or, just like kind of this push-pull thing where you're like, kind of saying nice things, but then saying kind of like hot, cold type things. You want to do that less if you have an attainability problem. Because what that ends up doing is making him feel like he's unsure if you even really like him. And if he's unsure about what, like I've talked about in many, many videos, one of the biggest fears that men have is being put in the friend zone, because most men get put in the friend zone most of the time with most women that they talk to. So I used to be in the men's dating industry I was teaching in the men's dating industry before I started teaching in the women's dating industry. And we had guys in the men's dating industry that would go out and approach thousands and thousands of women. And, we would go out to different places to go and approach women, and, help guys go and approach women. And we go approach women and, kind of show guys how it's done to approach women. And for the most part, if a guy goes and approaches a woman, it's most of the time it's not going to work out, right? So if a guy walks up and talks to a woman, probably around 80% of the time, it's not going to go anywhere, right? He's going to talk to her. She's not going to be single. Maybe it's going to be a bad interaction. Maybe she's not attracted to him. Maybe, she does something that he's not attracted to. Something's going to happen where it doesn't end up working out, right? He might get her contact information, and then, he never contacts her, or, she never ends up being attainable or available for him. And so most of the time things don't work out for men. And so, and even if he does kind of pursue things with her, a lot of times men end up in the friend zone, right? Especially if he's not really direct about his romantic interest from the very beginning. A lot of times what ends up happening is guys aren't sure because they don't want to be creepy, right? Guys are like scared to death of being creepy. It's like the biggest nightmare for a dude is for a woman that he's attracted to be like, oh, you're so creepy right now. And so a lot of times guys won't show that they're interested because they're afraid of looking creepy, and they don't realize that that actually makes them more creepy. But that's a whole nother thing altogether. But yeah, so the point is to tease him less, right? It's about giving him more of a feeling like he has the ability to win with you. He has the ability to pursue you. He has the ability to move things forward with you. And so you'll want to tease him less. Do we have any questions? Where's the best place to meet guys? What about see or friend with benefits? I have been for 3 years on and off, and I don't want a relationship. Where is the best place to meet guys? It depends on what kind of guy you're looking for. It depends on what kind of a person you are, right? So, for some people, the best place to go is to a bar. For some people, the best place to go is to different types of like meetup events. For some people, the best place to go to is a gym. But if you're not into gyms, then going to a gym might not be the best place for you to go to meet guys. So it depends on you. Raquel. Sorry, I'm always bad with names. Okay, so Marilyn asks, what about see or friends with benefits? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Marilyn. This guy is reverse aging. Yeah, I have some friends that tell me I look like a vampire or something like that. They're like, how do you never age? You just get younger and younger. Yeah, I was I was at this event the other day, and I was telling this woman how old I was, and she's like, do you have the the secret to the eternal life? Do you have the are you hiding the Holy Grail at home? What is your secret to looking so young? Okay, and so the next one, so we're talking about attainability, right? So if you're intimidating to men and they're not pursuing you, how to be more attainable. And the next one, and some of these, and it goes, they kind of go against a lot of dating advice that's out there, because we're coming from a place of, here's the cool thing about attainability and taking it on, even if you don't feel like you're like this super high value woman right now, or you don't feel like you're there. You don't feel like you really understand and appreciate and know your own value. The cool thing about attainability is it's an assumption. It's an assumption that you do have high value. So you're coming from this place of, I have high value. How can I make myself attainable to these men, being a woman of high value? And so a lot of this stuff about like being valuable and trying to make yourself seem more valuable, that stuff is coming from a place where you feel like you're not valuable enough. You don't have the confidence. You don't feel like you're a valuable person. And so you need to raise your value. That's the whole premise. That's the frame that you're coming from when you're trying to raise your value. But when you're coming from the frame of attainability, the attainability frame says that you are a high value woman already, and that men are intimidated by you. And so you are creating this space for a man to come into, because you're already, you don't need to worry about your value, because your value already exists. What you need to worry about is making sure that men feel like they can pursue you for a romantic relationship. And a lot of women out there don't even realize they have an attainability problem until they do some kind of coaching with me and then find out. So the next one is be warmer and friendlier. So there's a lot. I keep hearing these women that tell me that they got advice about like not showing interest in a guy. And that's like the worst thing that I've ever heard in my life. If you want a guy to pursue you, he needs to know, unless he's just like a super player and he's just super aggressive and he's just like, I'm going to approach, I'm going to pursue her no matter what. Most guys, if they don't think you're interested in them for a romantic relationship, they're not going to pursue you. That's it. They're going to look at it and they're going to be like, oh, I don't think she's really that interested in me. And so a lot of times they'll just be like, yeah, I'll just stop trying to, move things forward with this woman because I don't think she's really that interested. And so you need to, be friendly, be warm, be friendly. If a guy approaches you, like, there's kind of this thing out there about being hard to get, which, it's a valuable thing to talk about, right? Because men value things that they put effort into, right? Men value things that they invest in. They value women that they invest in. They value women that they put effort into. So I think the idea of playing hard to get, I think that there's some value there. But at the same time, you want to show that, there's this thing that I talk about with setting boundaries, where when I teach a woman how to set a boundary, the first thing that I have her say when she's saying her boundary is what she wants, right? So she'll say things like, if a guy is like, coming on too strong sexually, she'll say things like, I'm really attracted to you, and I really want that kind of a relationship with you. But, and then she'll go on to set her boundary where, she talks about, I need to feel these other things with you before I, do that or whatever. And so, the reason that you say that first part of the boundary, where you tell him what you want and you tell him that you're interested in him doing this, is because you don't want him to get completely discouraged, right? And if a guy, pursues you and tries to do something with you, and you just shut him down completely and just like, no, I'm not doing that, I'm not interested in that, that's not something I want, all of a sudden he's like, oh, maybe she doesn't want me. Maybe I'm not attractive to her. Maybe she's not interested in this kind of a relationship. I get women all the time that come to me and they're like, yeah, I rejected this guy. Why doesn't he pursue me anymore? And it's like, well, because you rejected him, right? And you rejected him in a way where he felt like it was a hard rejection. Right? We have these terms. One's like soft rejection and one's hard rejection. A hard rejection is like, no, I'm not interested. I don't want it, or it conveys the idea of, no, I'm not interested, I don't want anymore. Whereas the idea of a soft rejection is, it's a little bit more like, oh, not right now, or like, I'm not ready for that yet. Right. And so, if you give a guy a hard rejection, unless, like I said, unless he's like a super aggressive guy, he may just be like, oh, okay, cool, she's not that interested, and I'm going to go and pursue women who are more interested. And so you want to make sure that you're friendly and warm to men, especially at the beginning and throughout the process, like the dating process, right? That makes you attainable. Like being too hard, being too cold, being too much of a hard rejection makes it so that he feels like he's not really, like, you don't really want to have a relationship with him. Let's see. Do we have, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Do we have any questions about this real quick? What if they do show that and back off and they give you hope? I'm not sure what. So they show what? They show interest and then they back off. How about why do guys go hot and then cold and then drop out of sight and then hot again? Should I forget this guy? It depends. It depends on how long you've been, like, Arlene, tell us a little bit about like how long you've been seeing this guy. Like, how many times have you dated him? Like, how long have you been dating him? What kind of a relationship do you have with him? It's kind of funny because sometimes we'll get women who talk about like guys ghosting or going hot and cold on them. And it's like, sometimes it's like they haven't even met yet. They haven't even met each other yet. And you're talking about him ghosting you. It's like, he didn't, like until a certain period in the relationship, it's not really ghosting. It's more like, it's just a part of the dating process. He doesn't feel like you guys even know each other that well. And I don't know what your situation is, Arlene. Maybe it's maybe you guys do know each other really well. So you'd have to give us more information about that. So Rocky says, may I know why a guy said I'm his special friend? His special friend. Yeah, we need more context here. So what was the context of him calling you his special friend? All right. So I've been seeing a guy for 3 years and he says he wants no commitment, that we are not in a relationship, but he shows me different. Well, it depends on what you want. Do you want a relationship? All right, so I'm going to go over the rest of these. If you have a question, just type your question in the chat and I will get to the questions at the end here. That way we can go through all the content that I have for you today. All right, so for the next one, it is, so we're talking about attainability and making it so that a guy feels like you're attainable, right? If you're just this amazing, awesome woman, which you probably are, and you know that you're an amazing, awesome woman, you've created a life where you're an amazing, awesome woman. A lot of times guys might feel like you're not attainable. And so we're talking about how to be more attainable to these guys so that they want to pursue you and chase you and invest in you for a long-term committed relationship. And so the next one is using kind of non-teasing type of humor and just, having fun and enjoying kind of your interaction more, right? So another thing that happens, and sometimes women don't even realize that they're doing it, is they're just kind of like hanging out with a guy, and the guy's like, guys a lot of times they'll try to figure out like what's going on, right? So if you're newly dating a guy and he's having an interaction with you, he's trying to figure out, how you feel about him. And so if he's not getting kind of signs and signals about how you feel, he might think you're just not interested. And so, having fun, enjoying yourself, laughing with him, laughing at his jokes, just having a good time, just relaxing, letting go, getting rid of your expectations, and just having fun with him actually makes you a lot more attainable, right? And being like, serious. And, sometimes I talk to women that go on these dates and it's basically like some kind of like interview date where they've got like a list of things and they're like, okay, question number 1, what is your relationship to your family? Right. And if it's not on, if it's not any, A, B, or C, A is, it's like this weird, hard, like, I don't even want to call it boring, but it's like tense kind of date that they take guys on. And it's really like, for guys, it's like, like, do I really want to go and do that again? I don't know. And so it kind of puts you in this unattainable category, like this intimidating category, because it's not fun, it's not enjoyable. It's not, it doesn't make him feel those emotions that he wants to feel in order to want to move things forward with you and feel like you're somebody that is attainable for him. All right. So the next one is be more open and honest about vulnerabilities and mistakes. So this is another one that, a lot of times women feel like they shouldn't open up. They shouldn't be vulnerable with a guy unless he is, like the right one or whatever. And, I think being open to like making mistakes and, showing mistakes, showing that you make mistakes, it makes you more human, right? So there's kind of like these different dimensional sides to a human being. And a lot of times when you first meet a guy, it's like you have these images of each other in your mind, right? He sees you, he's physically attracted to you, so he's like pursuing that. And then he gets kind of this image, like this woman's image in his mind. And you want him to get out of that woman's image in his mind, because it's usually some kind of like dream ideal that he creates about you. And what you want to do is get him into the different dimensional parts of who you are and what your personality is. And one of the best ways to do that is to open up and just, and it doesn't have to be like like if you have some like major trauma or something in your life, or you've got like some kind of mental illness or something, it doesn't mean you need to drop all that stuff like on him the first date, right after you meet him. But, just talking casually about things, like, saying, if you say something that you think is stupid and you're just like, oh, was that dumb? It makes you more human, right? It makes you more attainable. It makes you more of somebody that he feels like he can relate to, because if he's a guy and he's going out and doing things, he's probably screwing things up a lot, like everybody is, and the question is, are you admitting it or not? And, if you can show kind of those sides to it, if you can show, that you're not this perfect ideal image of a human being that a lot of people are going out there and trying to portray, that's actually the thing that a lot of people are starving for. They're absolutely starving to get a real connection and to meet real people who've got real stuff going on, and that's valuable. That's really valuable, and it's really attainable, right? Because it's relatable and it makes them feel like you're a real person. All right, moving on to the next one. So I've got two more. The next one is finding more ways to genuinely compliment him. And so this is kind of going back to that one where I was talking about, letting him know that you find things attractive, but it's a little bit different. And the way that this is different is what you're going to do here is, just let him talk about himself. Let him open up, ask him questions about who he is in his life and what he's interested in. And if you get guys, I hear a lot of times women are like, oh, guys don't want to talk about things or whatever. If you get guys talking about the right things, they will talk forever about it, right? If you can find what a guy's passion is, and I talk about that in some of my programs about finding what his passions are and opening him up about those things. But if you can find out what that is, most guys will talk about that forever. They'll forever talk about, the things that make him passionate. And so what you want to do here, and I'll give you a really powerful tip here, is what you want to do is you want to find genuine character traits. So like things that he does that you find admirable, things that you find attractive, that you respect, things that kind of impress you, anything that you can find about him. Maybe it's a little thing, maybe it's how he treats the waiter. Maybe it's, how he opens the door for you and acts like a gentleman on your date. Maybe it's, the kind things that he says to you. Maybe it's, it could be anything. Maybe it's the way that he stands or sits or talks or anything, anything that you can find in his personality and the things that he talks about and his passions, even talking about, how you respect and admire his passion, that makes him feel amazing, right? And it makes him feel like, you see him at the same level as you. And if you, are a high value woman, sometimes men feel intimidated, like we talked about. And so you're pulling them up and you're going, yeah, I see you up here with me. And, that makes him feel like you're attainable, like you're somebody that he can, if he does pursue and he does chase after, that he can end up having a relationship with. And so there's one more here. Looks like we have some more questions. There's one more here. And this last one is something that I've talked about in a bunch of different videos that we have. And it's this idea that's called pacing, right? It's pacing his interest. And this is a really important concept because if you go too far down either of the rabbit holes, right? So this is one of the reasons, right? Like, so if you think about men, let's think about men for a second. In the men's dating industry, there's these two sides of the scale. One is like the super nice guy, and the other one's like the asshole, right? And so guys, a lot of the guys in the men's dating industry, they start out like super nice guys where people are walking all over them and they're like being ridiculously nice. And so and when you're like, yeah, you need to stand up for yourself and, do all these things a little bit more when you're talking to those guys as a coach. And what they do is they go, oh, I don't want to be an asshole. And you're like, well, you might have to jump over to that side for a minute just so that you're out of this uber nice guy thing in order to, find the middle ground, because the middle ground is really the sweet spot, right? Like you're not a pushover, but like when you're in the middle here as a guy, like, and you're dating women, you can be like romantic. You can be like all these really awesome things that a lot of guys feel like they can't be anymore because they've kind of gotten trampled over when they've done it. But they did it from a space of like neediness and insecurity and low value. But they jump over to the side and then they jump back and then they jump back and eventually they hit this middle ground, right? And so it's the same with you, right? If you're feeling like you came from one side or the other where you're like overly super high value woman or super like insecure, like feeling like you're low value woman, insecure, not confident type of thing. Sometimes you might have to jump back and forth, right? So you might do something that's a little bit, like too unattainable. And then you might do something that's like a little bit too graspy and needy, but sometimes it takes, going back and forth and doing those things in order to find where that sweet spot is. And sometimes a lot of this stuff, if you don't have it, if you don't just naturally feel it, sometimes it takes a little work, sometimes it takes a little playing with things and testing things out in order to get to the sweet spot that really, makes guys see you as this amazing, beautiful, high value woman. But it also, for the right men, they see you and they go, yeah, she's attainable, and they start pursuing you. And next thing you know, you have this flood of really awesome guys. And then, your problem is, which of these awesome guys, do I really, really like? And that's really where you want to be. And so there's this thing called pacing his interest that I talk about. And basically what it is it's making sure that you don't jump too far to one side or the other, right? So if a guy is showing interest in you, that's a good indication that you can show interest in him. Or if he's kind of pulling back, that's when you kind of, let him pull back, and, you kind of let go and pull back a little bit as well, so that he has room to come back and start pursuing you again and start showing that interest when, and you can start doing that as well. And so that pacing thing is a really, really powerful tool that a lot of women use that helps them with attainability and not jumping too far to the unattainable side or not jumping too far to the clingy side. Okay. So what else do we have here? How can I tell if he wants more than friends with benefits? So if a guy wants more than, so there's a bunch of different things that I have to say about that, right? So if a guy wants more than being a friends with benefits, most guys will be honest and open about it, right? They'll let you know if you talk to him about it and you ask him about it. If you talk to him and ask him about it, and he starts like kind of like running away or like, avoiding the conversation or pulling back and not wanting to talk about that topic of like relationships and commitment, that's a big red flag that he just wants a friend with benefits relationship. And so, I in our newsletter, I talk about, there's a very specific tactic. I think it's also in the How to Talk to a Guy program about how to set it up to make sure that you're getting into a situation where you're not just dating a player. Okay, so his special friend. I mean, there's no context to the special friend thing. It's like, what do you mean his special friend? Like it almost sounds creepy to me. That's what it sounds like. You're my special friend. Like, how is he saying that you're his special friend? All right. So Kelly says, after dating my neighbor for 3 months, I told him that I really liked him. he has pulled away ever since and says he only wants to be friends. As a high value woman yourself, what is up? Well, I mean, if he says that he only wants to be friends and, you want something more with him, or you told him that you like him, one, you got to respect him and what he says that he wants. There's definitely ways. I was talking to somebody it was in our community. It was in our Facebook community. Someone was saying that there's chemistry either exists or it doesn't exist. And I disagree. I mean, I think that there's, to a certain extent that's true, right? Like if you see somebody, you're either attracted to them or you're not attracted to them. But I think that there's levels of attraction, and attraction can be amplified. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've felt it. And I know that exists. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. Like what is up, what is up is that, he's just letting you know that he just wants to be friends. If he's pulling back and he says, hey, I just want to be friends, take it for what he's saying, take it for the face value. The question is, do you really want to pursue something more in that region? And, the question after that is whether he's going to end up doing anything or not. And if he doesn't, then you don't want to end up being the pursuer in that situation, because that will end up being really, really bad. So 5 months only kissing, but he's got a cast on. And so like a cast that prevents him from doing anything else. Sorry, I don't even remember what the question is. Okay, so hot and cold. Yeah, so it depends on what's going on with him. So it could be that there's a lot of different reasons that men might go hot and cold. One of them is that he might have kind of a job situation where he's just going hot and cold. Another one might be that he's pursuing other women, and so he's like available and then he's not available, and whatever. I'd have to know more about what's going on with him. It's hard to just say, okay, there's a guy and he kissed me and we've gone out a few times and he's hot and cold. There's a bunch of different kind of scenarios that exist there, that could be making him pull away and go cold on you. And so it just depends. Okay, great. Lucy says great content. You're welcome. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. So one thing that I want to say is, there's kind of this thing in our industry where a lot of people kind of talk about like, doing something and it'll make any man do this or do that. And maybe I've said that before. I don't know. But the truth is, the reality is that there's nothing out there that'll make any man do anything, right? Some men aren't going to be available. Some men aren't going to be right for you. Some men aren't going to pursue you. And attainability won't necessarily make all men who are attracted to you pursue you, right? So if a man is attracted to you, but he's over on this side over here, that doesn't mean that he's going to pursue you, at all, right? Or maybe he is unattainable, right? Because guys have that problem a lot too, a lot. Especially super high value guys that have a lot of stuff going on in business or in their careers or, just with their lives. A lot of times those guys are completely unattainable. And that's another thing that we talk about in the men's industry is attainability. And so, it's not always, you can't always do it. Can't always do it. All right. So Annabella asks, what is the best response if the guy asks you, do you consider to start dating again? I'm not sure what that means. Do you consider, is that English? I don't know. It kind of sounds a little like, do you consider to start dating? That, I don't think that makes sense. Okay. Should I pull the plug? I don't know what you're pulling the plug. Oh, so I always seem to Attract emotionally unavailable men. Yeah. So there's this thing that Helena talks a lot about. And we have a new coach that's been working with us. I don't know if you guys have seen her yet. Her name's Anya, but she's amazing. And Anya talks a lot about this kind of concept of shifting, right? Shifting something that's within you. And what ends up happening a lot for women that we've worked with that have gone from attracting lots of emotionally unavailable men to attracting guys that are available, that are amazing, that really want them, and are amazing guys, and pursue an amazing relationship with these women, is that they shift something that's going on inside themselves, right? So they shift how they feel specifically. And we talk a lot about that in the Anya actually has a whole program about that that you can get some of it for free if you go to thegoddesscommunity.com. You can get a bunch of it for free in there. So you might want to go check out thegoddesscommunity.com. There's a 14-day free trial, and you can check out Anya's Goddess Initiations program in there for free for 14 days. And you'll see what she's talking about. You'll see what I'm talking about in terms of shifting something that's inside of yourself so that you attract something different into your life. It's really, really powerful. I suggest that everybody go and check out thegoddesscommunity.com and look at Anya's Goddess Initiations program in there, because it is freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. So why do guys want friend with benefits and not a relationship? So Miss Hill, there's a lot of reasons why guys want friend with benefits and not a relationship. And it kind of depends on a few different things, right? So one of the things is how available he is for having something. So a lot of guys have been hurt, right? A lot of women have been hurt. A lot of guys have been hurt in past relationships. And so sometimes guys are like, hey, I don't want anything serious because I don't want to get hurt again, which is totally understandable. I understand it. You know, we have lots of hurt women in our community. And so, yeah, it is so that's one of the reasons. Another reason is that he might see you and only feel like he wants a friend with benefits. You know, most guys want a real relationship. That's the reality of things. Is most guys want a real relationship. And so he might, feel like, a lot of times guys will slot women into different categories, like, oh, you're kind of this friend with benefits category because I'm attracted to you, but emotionally it's not really there for me. Or, you're, kind of this relationship material because you seem like somebody I'd want to be in a relationship with, but I'm not sure if I'd want to go any further than that. And then there's kind of like this marriage material where you meet a woman and, a guy meets a woman and he's just like, oh my God, she's everything that I've ever wanted in a woman before. And so it might just be how it could either be him or it could be how he feels. It's always him, right? Because, he sees you and he's attracted to you. But for some reason, and it's either a reason of him feeling like he doesn't want any more for a multitude of different reasons, or he feels like he doesn't want more with you for a multitude of reasons. And it all has to do with him and how he feels. Yes, special friend. Yeah, we all, keeping it real. Okay. So D Martin says, high value guys, valuable women, odd terms. A lot of times when we say high value guy or valuable woman, I don't know that I said valuable woman other than saying if you feel like you're a valuable woman, right? So a lot of this has to do with feelings, right? It's not like, we're not talking about like human beings' inherent value here, right? Like if you feel like human beings have an inherent value, that's one thing, right? But if you see somebody and you feel like they would bring value into your life, that's a completely different thing, right? And so we're talking about feelings, right? And one of them is the way that you feel about yourself. And if you feel like you're a high value human being, other people are more likely to feel like you're a high value human being. And if a guy feels like you're a high value, like he feels like you're a valuable person, that you're somebody special, that you're somebody different than all the other women out there, then he's more likely to want to have a relationship with you, and long-term relationship with you. He'll feel like you're somebody that if he had you in his life, that it would be really special for him. So those are what we mean when we talk about the terms high value. I think a lot of people kind of like misinterpret that, like, oh, everybody's got value. Why would you say, high value? And it's like, well, we're talking about like value in relation to how somebody feels, right? And so, there's a million, I don't know if you're a man or a woman, D. Martin, but there's a million people out there, right? There's millions and millions of people. And if you go out and let's say you're a woman and you see all these men, and you like, what differentiates one man from another, right? And so when we talk about value, what we're talking about is seeing somebody's value and feeling like they're special and different and unique, and in a good way, right? In a way that makes you go, oh man, like I would love to have this person in my life and be with this person forever. So men say you're low class. I don't know. Why do men, like, what have you done where a man's told you that you're low class? Do you cuss men out? Low class behavior is usually things like when somebody talks about low class behavior, what they're usually talking about is being like disrespectful, or being like breaking social norms, right? Or treating people badly, or dressing poorly, or acting poorly, acting like you're like you don't have respect for people or things around you. So it could just be a bunch of different things around that. Okay, so that looks like all the questions here. So thank you everybody for being on this live stream. I wanted to talk about this because we've had a bunch of women in our community ask some questions about the idea of men being intimidated by them. And so, thank you for being here with me. I really appreciate you being here. And, thanks for being a part of our community. And I will speak with you again soon.